You are listening to the CittaCalcioUsa show, the only news and podcast in English about AS Cittadella. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the CittaCalcioUsa show, episode number 167, coming to you on Wednesday, April 16th. Boy, oh boy, is Cittadella in a serious situation now. 1-0 loss against Sampdoria this past weekend. It was another relegation six-pointer loss for the Granata as 5 games remain. Is there any hope? Can Cittadella salvage something from the season as 5 games remain? Cittadella in the relegation zone as they get ready for another big clash, this time on Easter Monday against Salernitana, possibly a season-defining game for both sides, but more specifically for Cittadella. To help us, we're happy he's back. We had some difficulties just now getting the Zoom link set up, but we're finally recording. We finally have him back. Please welcome back Francesco Fedele from the PianetaSerieB, the co-founder of PianetaSerieB. Francesco, how are you?
Hi everyone, I'm fine. Hi Jack, how are you? It's great pleasure to be back and to have the opportunity to talk once again about Cittadella and Serie B. So I'm really happy to be here with you. I'm following you, I'm following your stuff. So thank you very much for letting me be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you back. And like we said, apologies for that miscue at the start. Man, it's the Skype being closed down in like a few days. It's such so much difficult because that was where we used to record. There was no problems. Now we tried Teams, we tried Google Meets. It wouldn't
Everything.
work. So, but hey, we're finally back. We finally got it to work. So yeah, we're happy to for you to be back. But yeah, anyway,
We
before we
won.
start, Francesco, if you were here a few weeks ago, I think the last time was after the Pisa game. So, if there's any new listeners, why don't you tell anyone what you do for PianetaSerieB and what was your story following this journey?
It's a story start my story made a celebrate a story started from school because I was collecting moments with my friends, with my schoolmates, and we decided to do, a search for something new on the internet about Serie B. There was nothing at that time because we're talking about, 2016, 2017, and we started this journey with Pianeta Serie B. Now we have another part, Pianeta Champions. That's another website where we talk about, Serie A, Champions League, Liga, Premier League, but our core business is is even nowadays paint as a B, but we're trying, to go further with our journey into the sports journalist sector, sports journalism sector, excuse me. And so that's my story. We with paint as a B, we try to deal with Serie B stuff, starting from the most important teams, as Sassuolo, for example, up to the worst team in Cosenza, and we do a daily coverage of everything that it is happening in Serie B. And for myself, it's not something about only Serie B, because when you talk about Serie B, you have, in my opinion, you have to have updates even about Serie A and Serie C, our first and third division, because something it's everything related. Because from Serie A we are getting teams, from Serie C we are getting teams. So I try to have my eyes open on the entire Italian football world. So that's my little story.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. It's very well, and it's really great things you're doing for Pianetta Serie B. Like
Thank
like
you
we
very much.
discussed in the last episode we did together that
Jake,
Serie B
Jake,
is.
excuse me, Jake, excuse me. I want to apologize myself. I want to apologize with you, with our people, with myself for my English. Hope that it's proper good, and I don't
Oh,
know.
don't worry. Do not worry about it 1 second because I've pushed myself. I challenged myself to do podcasts in Italian, and still it is. It's, I have some lot of difficulties doing that when speaking. So please do not worry about that. But
Okay.
yeah, like we said, Serie B is such a fascinating league,
Yeah.
and you know, I'd be very sad if Cittadella drop out of it because that means I don't get to follow it as much, and I'll be following Serie C Uno, I think.
Yes, yes,
instead of I
yes.
don't know, maybe Serie C2. We'll see, but it is starting to be a real very, I'd say, real threat for Cittadella as they lose 1-0 against Sampdoria this past weekend. Once again, we knew how this game was going to go. It was going to be tight. There's going to be not many very chances. Both teams were going to have that fear of not losing type of thing, just playing it very safe. This had a 0-0 type of feel, very similar to the game against Cardarese, where, as Dal Canto said, and as like a lot of coaches say, it lives on the episode, the episodio, and it felt like that was gonna happen again, and it did end up happening. Giuseppe Sibili scoring off a header for Sampdoria, really their only, I'd say, big chance on Cittadella's goal, but this was I'd say, a very worrying offensive performance from Cittadella. Zero attempts on target and really never looked like scoring. Even Dal Canto said that after the game in his own words. It just never felt like Cittadella were going to score. And the frustrating thing is Sampdoria wasn't that great in the match either. This was a game where, like the Caradesi game, it wasn't a particularly great game to watch, even though, 25,000 fans were at the Marassi. It was a brilliant atmosphere, brilliant, brilliant. Just seeing the stadium packed on Saturday like that, it was certainly lovely. But the game itself, it was very tedious, lots of fouls. Losing 1-0 is okay against a team like Sampdoria at the Marassi. We knew, like you said, how hard it was going to be. But in the manner of like this, I think it's a very worrying thing for Cittadella because there's only 5 games left, really only 3 weeks left in the season, and it is still things are, I'd say, not looking great for Cittadella in terms of when you look at other Serie B relegation
Yes,
opponents.
yes.
But Francesco, we had you on after the Pisa game. Cittadella getting a 1-0 win in Pisa that lifted it up to, I think, mid-table, and it seemed like Cittadella were really on track for a comfortable, maybe I don't know if I'd say comfortable, but they seem on track for the Salvezza. But now it is another loss against a relegation rival. They've only won 1 game since we last speak, and that was against Juve Stabia. What do you think has changed since then? Do you think for Cittadella?
Jake, trust me, it's really amazing your comment, your analysis because I am 100% agreeing with you because when we talked the last time after after Pisa, as you were saying, Cittadella seems to have found their way, in terms of structure, a tactical proposal. They looked like a very determined team with this attention to defensive phase with these long balls playing on Okonkwo, and so they looked like to have an identity. But what happened? It's a nice question, and I can reply maybe in the proper way. But I was watching in Romeo Menti in Castellammare the match between US Stabia and Cittadella. Cittadella won that match, and after the match, I was talking with Dal Canto, during the press conference, and Dal Canto told me nice things about the squad, about the group, about what they were showing on the page because Cittadella during these years has never had a particularly talented squad, but they have always had an idea. They have always shown something, and maybe
Yes.
this has changed.
Yes.
Cittadella now, while I'm watching the Cittadella games, I see, a team that is giving, in my opinion, massive attention to the structure, to defensive phase, and they are, in my opinion, they've like I cannot say a problem in terms of tactical proposal when you have to create something in terms of build up, in terms of quality, in terms of how dangerous you can be. Because during these last games, I'm seeing a Cittadella very, I don't know, very with very that is paying much attention, in my opinion, on the structure, on the defensive phase. And when they have to create something, they just with these long balls fighting for the second balls. But you're, in my opinion, you're a you Cittadella, you have become a very predictable team, and so it's even easy for the opponent to defend against you because as you were saying against Sampdoria it was not an entertaining game from both Cittadella and Sampdoria, but the victory likely went to the team Sampdoria that maybe have shown more art, more they were, what can I say, they were lifted by the support of the fans, because even Sampdoria, like Cittadella, uh, how can I say, is not living a nice period because they've changed another time the coach. But during that game, the first win, Kiko Ivani as coach, maybe they were playing at home, and this kind of stuff. They found this goal with Citta, but it was not an entertaining game. But the problem is for Cittadella, they're not that's not something that we can say about just Sampdoria, but it's something about the entire period that Cittadella is living. Because for me to conclude, to end up my speech, it's about what you want to show. Cittadella, in my opinion, is not showing something that we have seen during the last years. Cittadella now is playing like a typical Italian side. So they just pay attention to not receive goals. They try, to defend at 0-0. If we can do something like, just put this long ball to a Cuonco, maybe something can happen. Because against US Stabia, they played a nice game in terms of how they defended, but in terms of what they show in terms of offensive action, they just went with these long balls to Okonkwo. Against Cittadella, the plan worked, but maybe against Sampdoria and against other teams, it is not working. So, because when I speak about Cittadella, I have always in my mind Venturato Cittadella. That was not a particularly talented squad, but every year, there were players that maybe during the last season they were not playing, but in Cittadella that they became something incredible. Because how can I say? In football, you can play in 11, but you can play in 12 if you have an idea. Cittadella with Venturato had an idea. Maybe it's something that now they don't have, or they know that they are not having in a proper way in order to fight for something important in Serie B. Because Cittadella went from dreaming Serie A up to hoping to not go to Serie C, to our third division. It is something incredible. Because if you can, in my opinion, clearly, if you can compare Cittadella sides during the Venturato's year and the years and this Cittadella squad, there's not so there's not this kind of difference that you can imagine by just seeing the table, the league table. But it's something that it is happening. And because I repeat, in my mind, it's happening because that Cittadella looks like something nice to see, something nice to watch. They let you to believe in something, because Cittadella was a small town fighting for a dream. This Cittadella, in my mind, it's a typical Italian side that fight for, I don't want to say for mediocrity, but that they fight for, that 0-0, then let's hope something. But I don't like the Cittadella. I like that Cittadella.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the one time Cittadella did attack and did get the ball in the box into a good area, Okonkwo did score in this game right before halftime, although the VAR called it back just for a slight offside. But I definitely agree. It's definitely a team that's really living off the episodes, as they say.
Yes.
And it's really yeah, it's definitely a stark contrast because like we said, during the Venturato years, even if it wasn't pretty, they had an identity which was pressing high, making it very difficult, being very aggressive, commanding the midfield. It's just something that's just missing right now. And the worrying thing is just in these next 5 games, Cittadella needs. Well, we'll get into the how many points they need and stuff a little later, but they need to win some games. They can't just keep drawing, And I just don't know where the goals are going to come from. Just it might come from, like we said, an episode like a corner kick or a set piece somehow. Sometimes if maybe Okonkwo could get on the counter attack with Pandolfi, like we saw in the Pisa game. Other than that, I just don't see where the goals are going to come from. And it was really evident in this Sampdoria game where it was a game where, it was a huge game for both sides, maybe more so for Sampdoria because I think
Yes.
Cittadella could have afforded a loss more than Samp. But in a game where you kind of had to go for it, they had zero attempts on target, below 0.40 expected goals. I mean, that's not a lot. And even in the game we were looking, in the past against Carrarese, they were limited there. Very similar, not a lot of action between the two teams. And after that game in Castellammare de Stabia, Cittadella lost 5-1 at home against Südtirol. That was the game where they scored 5 goals in 18 minutes. I said after that game, this was Cittadella needs to be careful because this is a game that sometimes you can't recover from, and they still haven't won a game since that. And I'm kind of fearing that that game is starting to kind of tip the domino and start this downfall. So, Francesco, how do you think Cittadella can change this attacking problems, and how can they? Do you think they could score goals in these next 5 games?
It's an interesting question, but in my opinion, at this point of the season, you can change players, because we're close to the end. It's something about how you put players on the pitch on the field because Ciudadella needs to create something, and I think that you have the players to create something because Pandolfi, Okonkwo. I'm in love with Masangelo because I think that he's playing an incredible season, even if Ciudadella is doing
Yes, and
isn't
don't
doing
forget
the
Davide Dio. It should be available
David
for the.
Davide Dio is recovering very well. You have Carissoni, you have players. So the problem may be Tronchi and other players. So maybe the problem it's not even if because the problem can be about the players because they're gonna stay. These are the players we'll end up with the season. So it's something about how what you can show, what you wanna show. So Ciadella needs to work about that because you were talking in the battle for not going in Serie. Cittadella in the next game has to play with Salernitana, and that's a match that you have to win yes or yes because it's an incredible clash for Cittadella, and if you want to win you have to score goals. So that's something you can avoid. And so in my opinion, you have to change what you wanna put on the field because Cittadella needs to change their way of creating football, even if I know it's very 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 complicated to give something to this pitch we're creating at this point of the season, but it's about what you want to show because if Cittadella thinks that with this approach with this identity because Cittadella for me nowadays has not identity. I think that you have even you're in trouble. You're getting in trouble.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. And there just needs to be, I don't know how, I'm not a football coach. I have no experience, and I'm
Yeah.
very sure that Dal Canto is much more knowledgeable with me
No.
in the sport. And these players are way better than I'll ever be at playing football. But yes, I think Dal Canto just needs to find something, whether that's, I don't know. Like I just don't know. Because like we said, like they do have the players, Pandolfi, Okonkwo, Dio. If they get the chances, I think they can score.
Carissoni,
And
Masciangelo,
exactly. And
Palmieri.
I definitely think Cittadella can keep a clean sheet with zero in the back and zero goals. The problem is, it's just if they could score those goals, if they could grind a 1-0, 1-2
Yeah.
nothing results, that would be great. But one thing I was kind of thinking about this after the game and over the weekend was during the Gorini years, when
Yeah.
after he got sacked. And after 2 seasons ago, when Cittadella was in a similar situation like this, they were in also the relegation zone with a few games to go. They had some very difficult games coming up. They played Genoa, they played Bari, they played Südtirol, all those teams fighting for promotion, and it was really looking like a difficult situation. During those Guarini years, even it was kind of similar to this. There was really no attacking plan, or there was, the goals were hard to come by, but you saw there was some fight. You saw there was some hope there, with Maestrello scoring in Bari late on to get the point, to Amatucci scoring in Bolzano. Against Genoa, they played a great game, even though with the red card, they held them only to a goal at home. There, you could kind of tell that there was some hope, like saying, okay, if they could just fix this one thing, I think they'll be good. And they're just so close to getting a result, and there's some, hope. Now, I don't know. Like, you may call me pessimistic, but I just don't know if they have that same type of hope or belief, because I just, like I said, I don't know where these goals are going to come from. And now Cittadella could prove me wrong and score 3 goals next
Yeah.
Sunday, or next Monday against Salernitana. However, it's just looking really, really desperate at the moment. So I want to ask you this. This might be a difficult question to answer, but do you think this team would be in this position, meaning the relegation zone, and being this, sucked far down and being in this desperate situation? Do you think they would be in this position if they stayed with Guarini and they didn't sack him after that 6-1 loss against Sassuolo?
It's we can know. We can know what I can tell you. Even as you know, I'm talking about my opinion. I've no laws in my when I talk about football. In my opinion, these problems, the Cittadella, as you know, has started each season with these problems because even with Gorini, they're not creating a nice football to watch. They're not, they were not doing the things in the proper way. But when Gorini was sacked, I think that with Dal Canto, they try to give that linearity, how can I say, that identity, but in particular in terms of attention to defensive phase to the squad. And maybe they ended up with, something good about this aspect because Cittadella, when you see Cittadella play, you see a team that is giving attention to the defensive phase. But football has even another part, is has even offense, has even attacking phase. And about it, Cittadella with Gorini and with Alcanto is having problems because, in my opinion, you told an important things. It's not about not to receive goals because Cittadella is a team that knows how to defend, but it's about how to score goals because now we have at the 16th of April. At this point, if you ask me how Cittadella can score, even if I'm not a coach, I believe that Dal Canto knows what to do because it's his job. I have a massive respect, a huge respect for him. But if you tell me, how do you think Cittadella can score? I don't know how to reply. I have no answer, and it's a problem with 5 games left, 5 games remaining. So because when we talk about Cittadella with Gorini and with Accanto, I think that we are talking about a team with identity, but only for defensive phase. If we speak about Cittadella and its attacking phase, we have speaking about a team with important problems that with 5 games remaining, excuse me, creates a great problem because if you see the structure of the players of Cittadella, I think that they can fit into a system with they have to play with a low block as they did in Castellammare with these long balls because they have players like Okonkwo with Pandolfi, with like Masciangelo, like Carissoni that are nice runners. Masciangelo and Pandolfi are nice players even in terms of technique, that they can put into their build up. But in general, Cittadella, I think that is a team that can fit into this kind of system. But we have to add something. If you play with a low block system, then you have to know how to attack, even with long ball, even with counter attacks. And Cittadella, as in my opinion, has problems in putting this into practice because Cittadella knows how to defend but doesn't know how to attack. I'm not, that kind of man, that kind of journalist, let's say you have to play like Guardiola or nothing. No, you can play in several ways, but you have to know how to play because then you you are good in how to defend, but you are so bad in how to attack and you lose games because football is about to defend and to attack and to manage. Cittadella knows how to defend, maybe knows how to manage the 0-0, but doesn't know how to attack. And you're not playing, every game against Cosenza that is worse than you, and so you can create, you can manage that 0-0. You play against, Sassuolo, against Spezia, Cremonese. You play against teams that knows how to attack and that can create problems to you. And so what can I say? In addition to this, if we're talking about a team that can play, in my opinion, with this system, with the low block and long balls and counter attack, etc., etc., it was so bad. There was a player like Claudio Cassano that was the only number 10 in terms of the structure of the player during the winter transfer market season. And I was seeing on Instagram a photo of Cassano with Leo Messi because
Yeah, I was
Chicago,
just about to say that he met Messi
Chi-
this past week.
Chicago played against Inter Miami. So what I can tell you that I don't know because a team with this kind of problems with Gorini and with Dal Canto, how can you lose the only player with that structure? Because with the players you have nowadays, you have at this point of the season, in my opinion, you can play as I was saying before. But with Cassano, you can add something different into your system. You can play a different match into the same match. Cittadella now can do this because Cittadella, the way they start the game, they haven't, in my opinion, the players to change their system, to change their identity during the game. With Cassano, they could have done this thing I'm talking about. So it was so bad to let him go away.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic to discuss about that Cassano transfer. I didn't even think about that, and how much he could potentially have helped Cittadella in these moments, trying to find a creative, some different attack because we knew Cassano is a very technical player. He's very creative, so it's an interesting. One other thing I want to add about this Sampdoria game is just the the amount of 6 pointers, the scontra salvezza that Cittadella have lost is not good because as we know in Serie B, the first tiebreaker is head to head. So if a team is on level with points, the team with the better head to head record will go through. So Sampdoria, they now have the tiebreaker. Caradese, they have the tiebreaker as well. Mantova, Südtirol, and Cittadella still has to play this upcoming weekend against Salernitana. Then it's Reggiana and Brescia. That's who Citta play on May 1st. So it's definitely uh, not a good situation that they put themselves into. And another thing I want to say is just I think there are definitely other teams that are currently looking, I'd say, or just have like a better mood right now and currently are, I think, more confident, let's say. That's a good word to make this Salvezza. I'm immediately thinking of Mantova, who won two Scontra de Salvezza against Südtirol,
Yeah.
Brescia, and then they got the point against Spezia coming back from 2-0 down, who really could have won that if the VAR canceled them out. Francesco, I see you smiling because I know how much you love Posanzini and the way he plays. But also, uh, who knows? Maybe Sampdoria now that they have new energy, new life under Ivani and Mancini in the crowd. You got, let's see, Frosinone have been playing very well recently, and but teams like Reggiana who have lost three straight, Cittadella who can't buy a goal at the moment, and even Südtirol right now they were looking like they would survive comfortably, but they lost two games against Mantova and in Salernitana. So
Yeah.
now maybe they're starting to creep back down and do this. So it's a very interesting thing as we move into kind of the next part I want to talk to is the Serie B table. As once again, if you once again, oh, I don't think I've explained this in the podcast yet, but Cittadella 17th place with 35 points. 2 points below them is 18th Salernitana, who is their next opponents on 33 points. 1 point below them is 19th Reggiana with 32, and then Cosenza in last place with 27 points. They are planning to have an appeal to the Tower Court of Lazio. So, we've seen Cosenza make some crazy comebacks in the late parts of the season, but I think this would be quite remarkable if they could turn it around. But currently they are 27 points, 8 points adrift from Cittadella. Tied with Cittadella on 35 points is 14th Brescia, 15th Südtirol, 16th Sampdoria, and just 2 points above that is Mantova, and then Frosinone and Cadenese tied with 38 points on those games. Let's see. Yes. So Cosenza, that appeal date is scheduled for the 22nd of April. So that's about a week away from here.
Yeah.
Cittadella in the relegation zone with 5 games left. Very similar like I said, to the 2022-2023 season where they were in the relegation zone with 4 games remaining. However, they did survive thanks to draws against Südtirol and Bari and Como, as well as a win against Benevento at home, which was a really massive, important victory. So I'm really liking Mantova's chances, just given the way they've been playing. And you know, opposite to Cittadella, they do have, I could say, maybe an identity that Posenzini really wants to implement. He's implemented all year. They haven't really, I'd say, changed it in a way because they're always playing it out of the back. They're always doing this thing. So who do you like staying up in? Who do you see getting relegated, and who do you see ending up getting staying up and getting relegated?
It's a really complicated
Oh,
question,
hold on one
but
sec. I don't think I could hear you. Hold on. It's just something with my audio. If I Here we go is speaker and MacBook. Okay. Can you hear me now?
yes. Do you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
like
Okay.
I repeat my question. Yeah.
No, no,
So,
but I heard you, so I can reply. Don't worry.
yes, go ahead.
Okay. So as I was saying, in terms of the teams we are going to see in third division next year, I cannot say Cosenza, even if I'm so sad about that because I can tell you, Jake, even if I'm not so, I don't know, I'm not so fun to tell the things, but they have a nice relationship with Massimiliano Alvini. I've been following him for years. We keep in touch when we can, and I can tell you, it's a great human being. And in my opinion, he's a very nice coach, a very nice mister, as we say in Italian. But he's facing things that are incredible, but incredible not in a good aspect, but in the bad aspect in Cosenza. So it's, in my opinion, it's not his fault, even because when they sacked him and they called the Vecchio, they just do something incredible. But even this case, about the bad aspect. But to reply, I think that we are going to see Cosenza in our third division. I have I have bad feelings about Reggiana because Reggiana, like Chanel, in my opinion, they are not creating anything. They've a problem in terms of attacking phase. Even if they have a player that, in my opinion, we're gonna see in Serie A during the next years, that is Antonio Vergara. Antonio Vergara is a player coming from the Napoli sector. I came from Napoli, so I've been following here following him, excuse me, since he was, a kid playing football and working for a dream. But they have a problem in terms of attacking phase. So I think that Cosenza, Cittadella, excuse me, Cosenza and Reggiana, they're they're going to Serie C. And the third one, it's a bit complicated because I think that it will be something about Salernitana and unfortunately Cittadella because they are the two teams fighting for, the play out, but one of these two teams is, in my opinion, is going to Serie C because Sampdoria, you know that Sampdoria is here. Sampdoria is not on a safe position, but Sampdoria, if you look at the squad, Gennaro Tino is recovering from his injury to Tino, Coda, Sibilli. How how can they go to Serie C? It will
They
be
also have, the fan base I think will really push them on. I mean, they have some difficult games coming up. They've got, they'll be in Castellammare di Stabia this
yeah.
upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
They'll have another 6-pointer against Caradese. They play two games against Cremonese and Catanzaro, and the final game against Salernitana, which could be,
Mhm.
that could be a preview to the playout if it's
Yeah,
needed.
yeah.
So that's
But
definitely
if I have to, to end up my answer, nowadays, now in April, I see Cosenza, Reggiana, and Salernitana in third division in Serie C, and Cittadella and Sud Tirol playing for staying in Serie B with the play out. While I see Sampdoria, even if they're not doing something incredible, because I think that when a season starts in a bad way, it ends up in a bad way. But Sampdoria, it's one nice team, a great team that I can't think they're going to Serie C or they fighting with play out. I think that they will stay without passing from the play out in Serie B. While Südtirol, I have bad feelings because I'm not a football fan of Fabrizio Castori way of playing. I don't like it very much. So I think that they're getting in trouble with their last results. So I think that they were fighting with Cittadella for staying in Serie B will play out. While I see Mantova in Serie B next season, I see Brescia in Serie B next season. I see Frosinone because with Paolo Bianco they did something amazing because Frosinone was in an incredible and bad situation
mhm.
before he arrived, but I think that they will stay without problems now in Serie B. And as you were saying, I'm in love with Davide Posansini because I think that if you notice Mantova squad, I think that it is a team very, 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 very. I don't want to say bad, but give me a word in English. Don't say bad, but
Hold on, let me think.
yes.
Okay, so Mantova. We were talking, and apologies everyone if the audio is not working as well as it was, but this is what we got. Mantova, yes, promoted from Serie C. Posanzini has this way of playing, and like you said, Francesco, and even in the worst games that they have, they still stick to their principles.
Yes, yes, because I think that it is even the only way they have to do something because without ideas, without principles, without that way of playing, they couldn't do what they did. So a massive I really appreciate Posansini and a massive compliment to him for what he's doing with his staff, with his players, because as I was saying before, Mantova compared to other squads, they've not the liable to be at the middle part of the table, such as they are now. So an amazing team, an amazing project. I think that for next season they have to do something on the transfer market in order to add quality in terms of players. But with this coach, with this mister, as we say in Italian, they can do amazing stuff. And I hope that Cosansini could do something important and can do something important in his career because I think that he is a nice coach and an amazing human being of football.
Yes, and like we said, I know how much you are deeply in
Yeah.
love with his playing style.
How many times on Instagram I wrote you about him?
Yes, yes, a lot of times, and that's the your battle of the favorite coaches in Serie B between you and I don't know who else you want to Yeah, maybe I don't know. Mantova versus Sutiro, Posanzini versus Castori. Since you said you don't like
I don't
Castori
like
much.
Castor, even if I have a lot of respect because he has won several Serbia leagues. He's an important coach. I just talk about football. I just talk about the coach. I just talk about what his teams show on the field, but about the man and about the person, about even about the coach. Even if I don't like what his team shows, but his team show. I have a massive respect. I just want to clarify that. But in terms of what I appreciate in football, in this derby, my votes go to Bosansini and trust me, Jake Paduca of US Stabia. Incredible. Paduca of
Yeah,
US
we
Stabia,
forgot to
incredible.
mention him. The work he's done
Uh,
there is
incredible.
incredible.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I really envy them, and I think they're really one of the stories of the season. Juve Stabia going in.
Yes, that's the story of this season, in my opinion. Because the story, no, they have destroyed the league, but with Lorente, Berardi, Pierini, Torsved, Boloca, Moro, Mulattieri, there was something written in the stars. But US Stabia with that team, because even US Stabia, they're coming from Serie C with the same team, I can say, and they're creating an incredible story. And I don't know if they will go to Serie A. I don't think, because I think that there are teams such as Palermo, Cremonese, Spezia, one of Spezia or Pisa. I don't know, maybe Spezia. They're on an higher level, but US Stabia, trust me, I've been watching them several times because Castellammare is like 1 hour from my house, so I have gone several times to watch them during the season. And US Stabia, it's something incredible. When we talk about ideas, when we talk about the modern football, we have to talk about US
Palliluca.
Stabia, Mantova.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Huge respect to USAD and
Yes.
what they're doing. But let's get into this final part of this podcast, and that is to talk about the upcoming Cittadella's game this upcoming Monday, April 21st, 3 p.m. European time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States. Stadio Pier Cesare Tombolato against Salernitana on Pasquetta. €1 tickets. That's what they are promoting in Cittadella. The tickets for the Tribuna Est is €1. So that is, you could get a cappuccino and a brioche de crema. That's my favorite breakfast meal in Italy. And you could buy 5 tickets with that. Let's say I don't know how much does it usually cost in Napoli, Francesco? Usually a cappuccino and a brioche. It's like what, €2,
It
€3?
it 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 depends on the zone, but if I can say maybe €3,
Yeah,
2.5.
you could buy 3 tickets with that. You could buy to go to the stadium and to cheer Cittadella on. This is
And
a yeah.
let me say, I come from Naples. It's the hometown of coffee. So if you wanna drink something nice, when we talk about coffee, you have to come. I want to tell to your audience, if they want to drink something nice when about coffee, they have to come to Naples.
Definitely. I need to come to Naples once and also try the pizza there. But yeah, this is speaking of Naples and Campania. The team right next door is Salernitana. This is Cittadella's next opponent. This is this no sugarcoating this or anything. This is a huge game for Cittadella and for Salernitana. Salernitana coming off the 2-1 victory against Südtirol, finally getting that victory. They've been playing very good at the Arecchi. However, it is now a big test for Cittadella because if they lose this game, they will fall into the direct relegation spot. Salernitana overtaking them on 36 points. That would be a very, very tough situation for the Granata, for the Cittadella Granata, not for Salernitana Granata. But this is, I wouldn't say this was a must-win game or Cittadella needs to win, but this is definitely, once again, a must-not-lose type of game because if they lose, what does that do to the mentality? Seeing them going to 18th place possibly, and depending on what Reggiana does against Brescia, that could change also. But if Cittadella can avoid defeat, I think that would be very much a positive. Salernitana, I don't know if they could afford a draw. I mean, maybe just given that every point counts, but they're gonna need to start to win, and that was a huge win against Südtirol on Saturday. But really, like we said, in these last 5 games, Cittadella needs to go for it. 5 draws if they get out the 0-0 5 times. I don't think that's going to be enough because I was always saying 45 points is the quota, the amount of points needed, but it seems unlikely that Cittadella is going to get there. So 42, 43 points should be enough for at least the playouts to at least get another chance of getting a playout game, and that really gets 2 wins and 1 draw in these next 5 games. So really, in Cittadella could really only afford to lose 2 more games from now if we are being if we're kind of looking at it from that lens. But they need to go for it, Francesco. They need to try to do something because they can't be drawing 0-0 from now on, because 40 points I think that doesn't get you anywhere, even if they are playing all these relegation opponents. So do you, well, first of all, how do you see this game upcoming on Monday? Are we in for another partitaccia? I think they say, or partirone.
Partitone. Jake, what you say, in my opinion, is the proper way of giving to the next weekend analysis, because the next match for Cittadella against Salernitana is a match that, in my opinion, you have to win yes or yes, because it's a crucial match. But as you were saying before, even if you can win but you can lose, so you end the match with a 0-0 or however with a draw, it could be important to keep the fight open, because I want to add that in the next game Reggiana is going to play against Brescia, so it's even another important clash. And if you are talking about Cittadella, if you lose against Salernitana and what can I say, Reggiana wins against Brescia, you create a situation with three or four teams at 35 points, but you have, as you can say during tennis, you have a match point against Salernitana, because if you win against Salernitana, you go 3 points above. You can go out from that group of teams. So it will be it is going to be a very, very, very important match for Cittadella, for Dal Canto's guys, because Salernitana is a direct competitor that you have in your zone to fight for, at least, as you were saying, a play-out spot. But even because Tirol is at 35 points, and they are, if we see the table, they are the first spot outside from the play-out zone. So if you win against Salernitana, you go up to 38 points, and maybe you can reach the 42, 43 points that you were talking about, because even for me, that is the number, 42, 43. So it will be very, very important, but it will be at the same time very, very difficult, because Salernitana are coming from an important victory against Tirol. And what we were saying about Sampdoria, we can say something like even for Salernitana, because if you analyze the squad, how many teams in the entire Serie B can play with Raimundo, with Verde, with Alberto Cerri, with Tongia, with Amatucci, with Bron. They have an incredible squad, excuse me. But as I was saying for Sampdoria, when a season starts in a bad way, it is probably ending with a bad way. So Salernitana is struggling, and they fighting for relegation. But for me, for Cittadella, even because they're playing at home, it could be the key factor, because playing at home Molato can give you something in order to.
Oh, well, I'll stop you there. That's what I want to kind of get into. Cittadella. We know how bad they've been playing at home. They have the worst home record in Serie
The
B.
worst.
2
They
wins,
are the
6
last
draws, 8
position, but by
losses.
far.
Yeah, but I will say Salernitana is the worst team on the road. They have only one win,
Away,
five
yes,
draws,
yes.
10 losses. That draw or that win coming all the way back in October. So maybe
They have like 8 points in 16 games, Salernitana away, so it will be nice even for this. But if you want to develop something during these last games, I think that you have to to be empowered from your people, from your your audience. So I think that Cittadella needs to take something from this match, because it will be very important. Because if Cittadella lose, it will be something very, very, very hard to build this journey to stay in Serie B. But if they're winning or they're drawing, but yes, a draw, I think that it doesn't give you so many positive things, because with with 4 matches remaining, you're in the same situation. So I hope for Cittadella that they're gonna win in order to look for positivity.
And one thing, like you mentioned just a little bit ago, another 6-pointer that is playing at the same time is Brescia Reggiana. Those are the two next opponents for Cittadella. The one against Reggiana coming on match day 35 in Reggio Emilia, and then on May 1st against Brescia at home. Those are once again two relegation scontri diretti, and like you said, if Cittadella loses this game against Salernitana, they'll drop inside the relegation zone. Depending on what Reggiana does, you go into that game in Reggio Emilia kind of, on the verge of relegation, and meaning if Reggiana do win that game, Cittadella could find themselves, 3-4 points in the relegation spots, with only 3 games to go at that stage. And if this is I don't think this is going to happen this year, but this is a kind of a forgotten role in Serie B. If the playout spots, if the 17th place team finishes, I think it's 5 points below the 16th place team, there's no playout. The 17th place team gets automatically relegated.
I don't know if they're 5 points, but maybe if it is not 5, maybe it's like 7 or 8. Something like that.
I think it's 5 because it's more than 4. So anything 5.
Maybe more than 4. Yes. I was making a mistake. Maybe more than 4. Yeah.
Yes, but just given how tight this table is, I don't think it's going to happen, because there are 6 points between 11th Caradese and Reggiana in 19th place. So I don't think that's going to happen. But do you think this? I mean, the good thing for Cittadella is in these next few games, they really don't have to watch the scoreboard of other teams. They don't have to, cheer for other teams, because if you look at who they're playing is Salernitana, Reggiana, Brescia, Frosinone, and Bari, which is on the final day, who are going to be probably in the playoffs. They don't have to worry about other teams. The fate is in their own hands. So do you think this game against Salernitana and against Reggiana are, I'd say, maybe the best chances to win, because they are playing a team like Salernitana, who are really poor on the road, and against Reggiana, who could be facing a do-or-die situation depending on what they do in Brescia? Do you think these are really the two games that are going to define the season for Cittadella?
I am 100% with you on this point. I think that these are the 2 most important games of the season for Cittadella, because if Cittadella is going to win these 2 games, they will stay in Serie B, because you're at this point of the season, matches are not about 3 points. If you want a direct clash against your opponent, they are not 3 points, they are 6. And so if you can win against Salernitana and Reggiana, even if you're going to lose, I say, the last 3 games, and you arrived at 41 points, and I think that you will stay in Serie B. But Cittadella, to give something to what we are saying, needs to win in the next 2 games, because they are the 2 direct too direct, clashes, I'm eating my words, against opponents. So I totally agree with you. They are incredible matches, but to win matches, you have to score goals. So let's go back to what we said during our conversation.
Yeah, that's the main problem. It's just I don't know where the goals are going to come. And an important thing to note about this Salernitana match, Orji Okonkwo will not play. He is on yellow card suspension. So that's one of little goal threats, out for the game. We'll see if Davide Dio is healthy to start, because he did have to miss. He missed the game in Genova due to a small injury. But let's see what happens, because Cittadella had about 9 days of rest between the Samp game and this upcoming game on Pasquetta. Unfortunately, here in the United States, there is, we don't get the day off. So, but fortunately for us, it's very early in the morning, so it's before any of us starts, work or school or whatever. So it's that. But one thing I'll end this podcast, saying one thing sticks out about Cittadella that's been, shown in the league since 2016 is whenever you think they are, dead, or whenever you think they have no chance or have no opportunities to get something, they always come alive and they always show that little thing. So even though the situation's not looking great, I will end with that and, kind of have some optimistic views, because, once again, this team has won in Palermo, in Pisa, in Castellammare, with backs against the wall with absolutely no chance, and they did that. So it is still definitely within the realms of possibility. If they could win this game, they would only be, 4 points away in their next 4 points game from at least getting a play-out spot. And with that, anything could happen in a two-legged playoff. So, I would leave with that, and let's see what happens. Let's go for it. It's $1, €1.
To conclude, let me say this: that what you are saying about Cittadella in their worst periods, how they find the way to go back to better periods. It's even because, as we were saying before, it's a speech based on, in my opinion, a tactical aspect. Because when Cittadella don't have to how can I say, to conduct the game, to give their to lead the game in terms of managing the ball and stuff. So when they can play with a low block, waiting for the opponent, then go with a long balls and with Okonkwo and Pandolfi, etc., they can do something. For example, against Pisa, against Cittadella, against Stabia. And I was watching even the game against Cremonese, and Cittadella with the 2-2, the draw 2-2, and Cittadella ended the game with the 24% of ball possession. So when they don't have to manage the ball, when they don't have to do the game, fare la partita, we say in Italian, that with possession, that you have to build up from the back, that you have to wait, you have to be patient. No, they can put their low block and then go with Masciangelo, Okonkwo, Carissoni, Pandolfi, Rabbi when he plays. They have done their best things. So it will be another point for these remaining 5 games. If Cittadella accepts that they don't have to do the game and they have to wait and then look for the situation to score a goal with a counter-attack, Cittadella can find a way to return to what they have done. I'm talking about the positive things during their best period. If they go in anxiety and they tries to do something that is not in their soul, or possession, quality, they have not that kind of quality. They have a different kind of quality. They have a different kind of identity. Maybe they can do something. I just wanted to say this to conclude our conversation, and just want to thank you for the space you gave me.
Yes, at any time as we conclude this podcast. Once again, Cittadella facing Salernitana on Pasquetta, Easter Monday, this upcoming Monday, April 21st, 3 p.m. European time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Stadio Pier Cesare Tombolato. Go buy the tickets. Even though I'm in the United States, they are €1. That's right, €1. It's less than a coffee, less than a pizza, or less than a brioche. It's very cheap. So €1. Go get your tickets. Support the team, because at this moment the team needs any help that they need. But concluding this podcast, Francesco, is there anything you want to add on this podcast as we wrap up, or are we good to go?
Jake, I just want to conclude saying that even if we are trying to analyze, to say something about the next match and things, so I'm pretty sure that we will know except for Cosenza, I think that we will know the teams going to Serie C at the last second of the last game of the season. So I just want to say to Cittadella fans in the States, as for the Cittadella fans in Italy, let's keep your trust in the higher way that you can, because you're still alive.
It takes one result to change everything, and even if it doesn't come the prettiest way, Cittadella doesn't have to play the prettiest, but if they could get a 1-0 win, that changes the complete complexion of the game, of the season, really. So that's Serie B, and let's see what happens. But yes, thank you, Francesco, for joining this podcast. Before we go, please tell everyone where they could find your work for PianetaSerieB, or if they want to follow you on social media, where they could find you.
Thank you very much. I try to be as more humble as possible, but if your audience want, they can find me on PianetaSerieB, as you were saying. They can find me on Pianeta Champions if they want to read something about the higher divisions. And on Instagram, they can find me on my Instagram account, Francesco Fedele Press. Francesco Fedele is my name in Italian. Press, what does it mean? And so, Jack, I just wanted to thank you another time for what you're creating, or for what you've created, because I think that you are a unique journalist. Trust me, I just don't want to say this because you're chatting with me, you're talking with me, but you're doing something incredible, coming from the other part of the world, talking about Cittadella and talking about Serie B in English, because it's something that I think that, trust me, in Italy maybe no one is doing something like you. So a massive hug, as for the human being and not just for the journalist. And I hope let's keep in touch. And just want to say thank you, because trust me, man, you're doing something incredible. I hope that you will never lose the faith to do something important for you, for your career. And trust me that you have a skill that in Italy we're not building up, because you can speak English, talking about Serie B, and you're nice. You understand football. That's it. It's the proper way to talk about it, and so you're amazing. Trust me.
Well, Francesco, thank you very much for that amazing compliment. It really means a lot. Regardless of where Cittadella ends this season in Serie C or Serie B, I'll still continue to follow and to continue to do my work, because until I always said when I end CittaCalcioUsa, I'll do it whenever I feel don't have the passion. As Jurgen Klopp said, I'm running out of energy, but right now I'm not. I still have lots of energy to do this. But thank you, Francesco, once again for having on the podcast. For me, you could follow CittaCalcioUsa on CittaCalcioUsa, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff, and CittaCalcioUSA.com for news, articles, Instagram, all that stuff there. We have a feature for Destination Calcio that we wrote, so I'll link that as well. I will link Francesco's work in the description, so you could go check it out. But for me, Francesco, thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. We will see you next week, possibly recapping, or we will be recapping the game, whether it's Salernitana winning or Cittadella winning. We'll have that. It's to be determined. But thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. We will see you next week, and as always, Forza Citta. thank you for listening to the CittaCalcioUsa show. If you liked it, please share and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at CittaCalcioUsa. See you next time, and remember, Forza Citta!